Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Sportcat Daily Gazette. Let me fix this a little bit. I don't know. I'm hidden, which probably isn't a bad thing, being is that I have a face for radio. So, how is everyone today? It looks like I don't have anyone in the chat yet. Well, okay then. Well, while we're doing that, I want to thank you to Yergs at yergsradio.com and to Rainbow Radio. Thank you, Yergs, for allowing us to tickle your ear innards there. And of course, we are live in Australia on Radio X in Australia. Good morning in Australia. Good morning, good afternoon, good day, good evening to you wherever you are in this world. I hope you're having a great day, and I hope you're ready to enjoy a show. I did discover something new today. There is something called Happy Friday. Not really sure what Happy Friday is. It's basically a slang for Happy Friday. Let's get the weekend going. And I'm okay with that. So I hope everybody is ready to have a great weekend. So as we can see around the world right now, it's currently 1:03 Eastern, Friday, March 28th. And if you look around the world here at the different time zones, we see that in Australia, Sydney, it is 4:03 a.m. In London, it is 5:03. And in the Philippines, it is 1:03. We'll be talking about them here in a little bit. So good morning, good afternoon, good day to you, wherever you are in this world. It's definitely going to be a great Friday. Well, for most of us. So let's start off here with, we talked about this yesterday and we said Happy Friday, but we want to know every day what today is on National Calendar Day. Well, today is National Something on a Stick Day, which is observed March 28th of every year, and it's for stick food. Well, I don't really know that I have a preference for stick food other than popsicles, so all right, well, so there is that. So happy National Something on a Stick Day. What is it? Jalapeno on a stick? Is that one of the that was from the oh gosh, what's his name? The not puppeteer. Well, you know, the ventriloquist. That's what I'm trying to say. Yeah, it's jalapeno on a stick. So, all right. Well, we'll start off with some breaking news, and this comes to us out of Asia, where they say that in Myanmar, there are more than 140 dead. Last count I heard was around 150. And you can see in this video that is posted on Reuters from a car dash cam, there is a skyscraper brought completely to the ground. And they said a crane collapsed just moments before that. Apparently the building was under construction, but the earthquake brought that building to the ground. So that's quite scary for most, I'm sure. Brings back some hard memories of some events here in the United States that we don't like to talk about. But yeah, that building coming down like that certainly does. So Bangkok, March 28th, a powerful earthquake has killed dozens of people in Myanmar on Friday, according to local state media. Toppled buildings, damaging infrastructure over a wide area. The quake also hit Thailand, and officials said that at least 9 people had died in the capital of Bangkok. So I'm hoping that my friend Tony is okay there. I'll have to shoot him a message. Much of the destruction took place in Mandalay, which is Myanmar's second largest city and lies only about 17 kilometers or 10 miles from the quake epicenter. The USGS, the United States Geological Survey, said the quake, which struck at lunchtime, was 7.7 magnitude and a depth of 10 kilometers or 6.2 miles. And Mandalay has a population of 1.5 million. It's the ancient royal capital and center of its Buddhist heartland. Buildings, bridges, and roads have all been wrecked. Residents and local media are reporting. State-run media say 144 have been killed, but I've already heard that's been updated to as high as 150. Somebody's quoted as saying, "We all ran out of the house as everything started shaking. I witnessed a 5-story building collapse in front of my eye. Everyone in town is out on the roads and no one dares go back inside buildings. I don't blame them. A rescue worker from Mo Sandir charity group told Reuters it had retrieved at least 60 bodies from monasteries and buildings in Pyongyang, near Myanmar's capital in Naypyidaw. Now, I know I'm probably pronouncing these wrong, and I apologize. It's not intentional. And more people were trapped. This 60 is only from my charity group and only in the one small town of Pyongyang, he said. Myanmar's military junta is locked in a struggle to put down insurgents fighting its rule, a situation that is likely to complicate the rescue and relief efforts. Certainly will. I'm sure that the UN or the United States will be more than glad to send people in, but the situation has to be safe. I know plenty of people from FEMA will probably be ready to respond, and task forces will be dispatched, but if the situation is not safe, they certainly will not go in. So the epicenter was about 17.2 kilometers from the city of Mandalay, and that map there shows where the most intensity, I'll have another map here in a second, of the shake was. And this basically just represents how strong or how you felt the shaking, and with the dark red being 8 the highest. So the junta leader, General Min Aung Hlaing, said there would be more deaths and casualties as he invited any country to provide help and donations. He said on state television he opened routes for international assistance. A diplomatic spokesperson for the opposition National Unity Government said fighters from the Wanita no junta militaries, known as the People's Defense Force, would provide humanitarian help. The United States government analysis based on strength and depth of the quake estimated there could be thousands of deaths and a severe economic loss, with Sanyang and Mikata regions worst hit. Of the confirmed casualties in the Thai capital, 8 died in the building collapse, while the 9th person died in a different location. Bangkok's deputy governor, Tavita Kajmanita, said the rescue operations at the building site said more than 100 people were missing. The quake was followed by several powerful aftershocks and several small, moderate ones. All buildings and bridges are damaged, causing collapse of businesses and buildings in 5 towns, as well as railway bridges and road bridges. So, yeah, there's destruction across a wide area with the roads damaged. Phone lines have been disrupted. There's no electricity, said one resident. Local media outlets now posting image showing a clock tower had collapsed and part of a wall at the Mandalay Palace was ruined. One witness told Reuters that a tea shop had collapsed with several people trapped inside. He said, "We couldn't go in. The situation is very bad. At least 3 people died after a mosque in Tanggu partially collapsed," 2 witnesses said. "We're saying prayers when the shaking started. 3 died on the spot," one said. Local media reported a hotel in Angban in Shan State crumbled into rubble, with the Democratic Voice of Burma reporting 2 people had died and 20 were trapped. Army-run MRTV reported the quake toppled buildings, crushed cars, and left huge fissures. And a fissure is just basically a rip in their roadway or the earth on roads across the capital. Amnesty International said the quake could have not come at a worse time, given the number of displaced people, the existing need for relief aid, and cuts to USA by President Donald Trump's administration. Restricted media access meant a clear picture of the extent of damage and loss might not emerge for some time, according to reporters. Since overthrowing the elected civilian government of Noble Laurent Aung San Suu Kyi in 2021, the military has struggled to run the country, leaving the economy and basic services like healthcare in tatters. An armed opposition composing established ethnic armies, and a new resistance group formed since the coup has ceded swaths of territories and driven the Junta out of border areas, increasing hemming into central lowlands. The fighting has displaced more than 3 million in Myanmar, with widespread flood insecurities, and over a third of the population is in need of humanitarian assistance, according to the UN. The country has also been hit by natural disasters in recent years, including Typhoon Yagi last year and Cyclone Mocha in 2023. An internationally isolated junta has struggled to respond adequately. Let's see. Myanmar was wholly unable to deal with the shock and aftermath due to the breakdown in civil society. In Bangkok, people ran into the streets in panic among hotel guests in bathrobes and swimming costumes as water cascaded down from an elevated pool in a luxury hotel. The Stock Exchange of Thailand suspended all trading activities for the Friday session. One office tower in Bangkok swayed from side to side at least 2 minutes, with doors and windows creaking loudly, witnesses said. At first, I didn't realize it was an earthquake, but then I saw the table shaking and the chair and the computer started swaying too. Part of the ceiling collapsed, and that's when I ran out, according to one local resident. And Myanmar lies on a boundary between two tectonic plates and is one of the most seismically, meaning it shakes a lot, active countries in the world, though large and destructive earthquakes have been rare in the Saigon region. All right, so we'll show a map of the epicenter here, a little bit larger than this one, and then we will show where it is actually located in the world for those of us that are geography challenged. So here is the intensity map. You can see that it extends for some reported 600 miles. It's quite a large shake at 7.7. And we wish them well, especially to all the responders that will be going into the area from not only locally, but around the world. I brought up Google Maps to show exactly where this was. So it's located right here in this section. And you saw on a previous map how it extended out in Thailand and Myanmar, Burma, and some people were saying as far over to the west as India were feeling shaking. So no reports from China have emerged as of yet, which does not surprise anyone. So, but quite a large earthquake. We hope that they're doing well. Okay, so some other news. Australian spy planes worked overtime during nearby Chinese naval drills, but frigates, destroyers are seen as lacking, with Beijing's warship expected in Australia more often. Melbourne, Boeing P-8 Poseidon maritime patrol craft took center stage in Australia and New Zealand's joint response during a surprise appearance last month of Chinese warships, which were sailing around and encompassing Australia, while nation's number of surface combatants had been dwindling, according to officials and analysis. Responding to questions from the Defense News at Avalon International Airshow 2025, held here March 25th through the 30th, a crewman said that Australian P-8As performed high-duration, high-frequency sorties, while the People's Liberation Army Navy plan ships voyaged around the continent. The P-8 platform of the Royal Australian Air Force, RAAF, currently has 12 and can perform missions up to 20 hours long if they are airily refueled. Australia has 2 additional P-8s coming soon to the air. Commodore Angus Porter, Director General of the RAAF Air Combatant Capability Branch, at the biennial Avalon event. Poseidons of the Royal New Zealand Air Force also monitored the trio of Chinese ships, comprising of Type 054A Alpha frigate Hingang and Type 055 cruiser Zunyi, Good Lord. Type 903 replenishment ships as they sailed through the Tasman Sea. Australians and Kiwis were shocked when the Chinese ship's trio conducted gunnery drills on February 21st through 22nd, causing nearly 50 airliners to divert course between Australia and New Zealand. It's unclear whether the Chinese task group was accompanied by a nuclear-powered submarine, according to local military leaders. They asked, and they said the world's premier and submarine aircraft had detected an accompanying submarine, but they would not comment or confirm or deny. So, Australian National University told Defense News that live fire activities occurred on the high seas and that such activities were normal and common for warships. However, even if lawful, China's actions are undoubtedly designed as posturing towards Canberra and Wellington, both of which sends warships through international waters in the Taiwan Straits and the South China Sea. I think the nature of the deployment is certainly designed to send a message. There's a reason they're down here. There's a reason they're loitering down here, and they're not coming in for a port call. It's all about sending a message about their capability. Australia is not used to hostile warships sailing through the Tasman Sea, but such a thing is likely to occur more frequently, especially as China buttresses its position in Antarctica, according to experts, which is part of the reason the United States wants Greenland. Just by virtue of the scale of the Navy they've built and their intentions to play a broader role in the Indo-Pacifica, I don't think there's any doubt we're going to see this more often, according to a defense director. Parker agreed, however, predicting Australia may even see multiple task groups, one in the Pacific and maybe one in the Indian Ocean. It's all about testing Australia's response, but both in our defense, but in our national response in terms of how does the population react. He described Australia and New Zealand military response as effective and well coordinated. However, both militaries are struggling to field surface combatants. New Zealand has only 2 frigates, while Australia's Navy is down to just 10 warships. In fact, one source told Defense News that New Zealand has almost become a strategic liability to Australia because its military is so hollowed out. They believe New Zealand should align acquisitions and training pipelines with Australia. While the P-8s proved their worth in tracking the Chinese trio of warships, the mission was also tailor-made for unmanned capability that's about to enter in service. The Northrop Grumman Triton, the Australian Air Force has 1 Triton at the moment, but officials said the 2nd and 3rd will arrive in April after being checked out by the United States. The Air Service also has a 4th on order and is expected to reach initial operating capabilities in the first quarter of 2026. The aircraft will be based at Tyndall and in the Northern Territory, even though they're flown from an air base near Adelaide in South Australia. Tritons have an endurance of more than 24 hours, 7,400 nautical mile range, making them ideal for monitoring future Chinese Navy task force sailing near Australia. They're coming along really well, according to the military. February and March, I'm comfortable with it, and it's on track. Asked whether Australia will need more of these drones, he said the original fleet size projections are holding up. The current environment and what we've experienced recently does not change the math. The Triton is effectively going to surveil a maritime space the size of Western Australia every 24 hours for each platform. So we're comfortable with the maths, and we've done to arrive at the fleet size we have. So China is still being provocative throughout the world. Shocking. All right. And that also brings us up to another article. This comes out of the Star. Kim Jong-un inflames World War III tensions as he shows off new warplanes capable of wiping out enemies. That's a quote from him. North Korea dictator Kim Jong-un has been pictured inspecting the country's new airborne early warning and control warplanes as it soars through the sky. It's unveiled its new warplane in a series of images released by state media showcasing the aircraft's capability. The photos feature dictator Kim Jong-un observing the airborne early warning and control aircraft based on a Russian candid cargo plane while it was airborne. Additional images show Kim inspecting the plane's interior during a showcase. The aircraft is expected to play a significant role in monitoring potential threats, gathering critical information, Kim stated. At first glance, it appears that the two-tone white and gray paint scheme and lack of visible marking bears a striking resemblance to a Russian A-50 and a China KJ-200. However, unlike the A-50 and KJ-2000, the North Korean design appears to have a notable lack of antennas and protrusions typically associated with aircraft according to this type. According to the war zone to this type. Good Lord. I don't think I can speak today. The unveiling comes at heightened tensions with North Korea warning the U.S. and its war reinforcements to the Northeast Asia will be contained and, quote, wiped out. Meanwhile, Japan is preparing to deploy long-range missiles capable of hitting targets as far inland as Pyongyang. U.S. Marine Corps recently deployed additional F-35B stealth fighter aircraft to Japan from Arizona on March 8th. The official outlet and Korean news agency slammed the U.S. last week, branding it as a hostile and confrontational entity. The additional deployments of offensive war reinforcements to cope with contingency in the Korean Peninsula is hourly increasing the unpredictability of actual armed conflict and nuclear war. The U.S. anti-communist outposts are within the contrast sightings and striking range of forces. Any war reinforcements of the U.S. will completely contained and wiped out, according to Kim Jong-un. The U.S.'s desperate move of militaries, adventure tourism aimed to create military imbalances and incite new geopolitical conflict in the Korean Peninsula and Northeast Asia provide North Korea with reasonable justification and urgent need to give a tougher warning of action. Trump has reaffirmed that one of his key goals is North Korean nuclear disarmament. Good luck with that. In related developments, Japan's newly developed long-range missiles boast a range of about 1,000 kilometers, putting both China and North Korea within striking distance. This comes as Kim Jong-un debuted new missiles and boasted over their laudable combat performance as fears that countries are on the brink of World War III. North Korea conducted a test fire of the latest anti-aircraft system on Thursday to examine its performance. Kim Jong-un oversaw with members of the military, and the test apparently proved the new system was very quick and highly reliable. All right. Putin apparently has authorized a launch of new nuclear submarine carrying unstoppable Zyklon hypersonic missiles. Well, all right. So it appears everybody is just crazy to go to war. What is wrong with these people? We need more peace throughout the world. All right. So we'll jump here locally real quick, or not locally, but back to the United States, where we have seen an influx in the rise of border seizures of eggs, while fentanyl is falling. So, yeah, we're seizing more eggs. Remember, Brazil and Italy are going to be providing us with more eggs here in the United States due to the Biden bird flu crisis. With egg prices soaring due to the bird flu outbreak, border officials say they're catching more people attempting to bring eggs into the United States illegally. In fact, sharp increases in egg seizures are outpacing border officials' interceptions of fentanyl. U.S. Customs and Border Protection said this week that seizures of raw eggs have risen by 48% at entry points along the northern and southern borders compared to last year. Custom and Border Patrol agents have been especially busy at some ports of entry. The San Diego field office has seen a 158% increase of its egg interceptions since the last fiscal year. By comparison, the Border Patrol's latest statistics show a sustained... Wendell, stop. By comparison, the Border Patrol statistics show a sustained drop in interceptions of fentanyl the dangerous opioid frequently cited by the Trump administration as a reason to stiffen U.S. borders and impose tariffs on Canada and Mexico. Seizures of fentanyl have fallen since last October. The Border Patrol reported 63 seizure events involving fentanyl in February, compared to 95 1 year earlier and over 100 the same period of both 2022 and 2023. In terms of both the number and interceptions of the weight of seized drugs, such incidents are now at the lowest monthly level seen in 3 years. The overdose deaths have also fallen, according to the United States drug. Let's just try that all over again. U.S. drug overdose deaths have also fallen, dropping to 84,076 last October, the most recent data available, after reaching a peak of 114,664 in August, according to predicted provisional counts from the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention. It's Friday. I need to get through this. To a large extent, those cases involve fentanyl, a notorious potent synthetic drug that in 2018 became the drug most often linked to deadly overdoses. The nation's bird flu outbreak is another story. The U.S. poultry industry has been ravaged by highly pathogenic avian influenza H5N1 in a culling efforts to contain... deep breath. To contain the disease, more than 168 million birds have been affected since 2022, according to the CDC, a figure comprising commercial poultry, backyard poultry, and hobbyist flocks. The impacts have been particularly hard on egg-producing farms, leading to higher egg prices, a scenario worsened by the massive scale at which many U.S. producers operate. With large complexes holding more than 1 billion birds, it takes fewer egg-laying operations being affected by the flu to drive up the price of the eggs, according to economists. Shortages and high prices are seen as motivating people's attempts to sneak eggs into the U.S., according to the Border Patrol, and its agents have carried out more than 5,572 egg products seizures so far this year. That's according to data as of 1 March. The agency reported 15,955 seizures total in 2024 and 16,541 in 2023. Sharp increases after the 10,604 interceptions in 2022, the first year of the bird flu. The U.S. Agriculture Department is also trying to bring in eggs. The agency has reached deals with Turkey and South Korea. So we know Turkey, Italy, and South Korea are importing eggs to the U.S. for assistance. So who knows where your eggs are going to come from? We're talking about hundreds of millions of eggs for the short term, Rollins said, predicting that additional supplies would be significant enough to help bring egg prices down. Yes, Wendell, you're correct. Autocorrect on my mouth is messed up. I need to hit a reset button. The caffeine has not kicked in. So the United States is getting eggs from Italy, Brazil, Turkey, and South Korea. I wonder how that'll be divided up in in the I guess it just took everything off the screen. Sorry, Wendell. I'm still here. Can you hear me? Everything okay? All right. Well, I did disappear. I ghosted. So medical disinformation connected to the West Texas measles outbreak has created a new problem. The kids are being treated for toxic levels of vitamin A. Covenant's Children's Hospital in Lubbock confirms it is treating children with severe cases of measles who are also suffering from vitamin A toxicity. They have admitted fewer than 10 pediatric patients who were all initially hospitalized due to measles complications, but have an elevated levels of vitamin A that is resulting in abnormal liver function. You have to remember, everything we put into our body either comes out through our kidneys or through our liver. So in one way or the other, it's going to affect something. HHS Secretary, Health and Human Services Secretary Robert F. Kennedy Jr. directed the CDC to update its measles guidance to promote the use of vitamin A. Kennedy, a vaccine skeptic, recommended an article published March 2nd on Fox News to take vitamin A under supervision of a physician for those with mild to moderate severe infections. I'm not sure he should be giving medical advice, but okay. During a March 4th interview on Fox, Kennedy suggested that therapies such as the use of cod liver oil, which contains vitamin A and D, were working in treating measles patients. There were reports from West Texas area that cod liver oil is in high demand, and it's a big seller at area pharmacies. But the hospital is informing the public to reduce consumption of vitamin A and has warned that excessive amounts of it may result in significant adverse effects. There is no evidence that taking vitamin A will prevent measles. The World Health Organization has administered vitamin A in Africa to reduce mortality during measles outbreaks. This is a strategy in part of the world with widespread malnourishment, and vitamin A deficiency compromises the immune system. However, malnourishment is not a problem in West Texas or in other locations where the measles outbreak has spread in the United States. More than 320 people in Texas have contracted measles in recent weeks. 40 people have been hospitalized in the state, and one child has died in the current outbreak. So, when it says, yes, you're back, that's not where it comes out. Well, how about where it is processed in your body, Wendell? Is that better for you, your Alabama anatomy and physiology? That's how it is processed. Vitamin A is processed in the liver, and you can cause severe problems for later in life with liver toxicity. So, although that we all probably could use some more vitamins in our life, we shouldn't take excess vitamins without seeking a physician's permission or under the supervision prior to taking them. So it all goes back to the theory, everything's good for you until it's not. In other words, you can take a good thing. You can even die of water poisoning. Yes, that is an actual thing, and I've seen it. So everything can kill you, and essentially the way of looking at it. So, but yes, Wendell, you're correct. It's not where it comes out; it's where it's processed. All right, so we talk about Putin now. He has put missiles in his submarines that are hypersonic, can go anywhere and be unstoppable. He now vows to finish off Ukraine and mocks the British Army in furious rants. President Vladimir Putin made outrageous claims about the future of Ukraine and even laid into the size of the British Army or military in a fresh act of bravado despite ongoing so-called peace talks. Well, they had an agreement that they've both agreed to do, but neither side is doing. So that's not really peace plan. That's just, we're talking. Jeez. Russian President Vladimir Putin has mocked the size of the British military and even vowed to finish off Ukraine in bizarre rants while speaking to his troops. The Kremlin chief was speaking to submariners on board Russian nuclear submarine when he scoffed about Ukraine's future, making a grim prediction about winning the war. He said, "Not long ago, I said we'd grind them down, and now it looks like we'll finish them off." He went on to say that the UK is jumping on us, behaving aggressively, but their economy is, I think, in the 9th or 10th place in the world. Hence, the armed forces, what is 170,000 or 180,000, that's all the armed forces of the United Kingdom. Well, he's not lying. Putin also proposed putting Ukraine under external governments under the UN in a bid to end the war. Speaking to nuclear submariners, he claimed Ukraine's President Volodymyr Zelensky, whose term expired last year, lacks legitimacy to sign a peace deal. Under Ukraine's constitution, it is illegal to hold national elections while the country is under martial law. Putin claimed any agreement that is signed with the current Ukrainian government could be challenged by its successor. It came as Russia again launched fresh overnight missile and drone attacks across Ukraine. And Putin declared new elections could be held under external governments. This, he said, could be under the auspices of the UN with the United States, even with European countries. And of course, with our partners and friends, we could discuss the possibility of introduction of temporary governments in Ukraine. It comes in the wake of a coalition of the willing Paris summit in which British Prime Minister Keir Starmer said of Kremlin's delaying tactics. They are playing games and they're playing for time. We can't let them drag this out while they continue prosecuting their illegal invasion. During the Paris summit, European leaders, including the UK, discussed plans for deploying troops to Ukraine, bolster security if a peace deal is struck. Russia and Ukraine have agreed tentatively to pause strikes on energy infrastructure, but quickly accused each other of violating that. Russia launched 163 strikes with decoy drones at Ukraine late on Thursday, damaging residential buildings and injuring a 19-year-old in Poltava. Drones damaged warehouses, an administrative building, and high-voltage transformers, according to a regional head. Damage to buildings and infrastructure facilities were also reported by authorities in Odessa, Kharkiv, Derpo. I really need to study my geography. In Ukraine, Russia said Ukraine struck a gas metering station in the Kursk region with U.S.-made rockets, destroying the facility. It said another Ukraine strike on an energy facility in Russia region led to a power cutoff, and added that air defenses downed 19 Ukrainian drones that attempted to strike an oil refinery, the Kremlin spokesperson said. Ukraine strikes on Russian energy access were a sign that Mr. Zelensky cannot control his military. He said the Ukrainian armed forces aren't following orders from the country leaderships and continuing attempts to strike Russia's energy infrastructure. Putin declared in overnight remarks that the Russian military has gained steam and is pushing offensive all along the front line. He said our troops are moving forward and liberate one territory after another. Our troops are holding strategic initiative all along the line of contact. They have massive trumps. It's a big, beautiful thing. Oh, good Lord. All right. So here back in America, we'll cover a little news. Trump is asking the U.S. Supreme Court to intervene in deportation flights. It was eventually bound to happen and needs to happen. Washington, March 28th, that is today, Donald Trump asked the United States Supreme Court to lift a temporary order blocking him from using a 1798 law to swiftly deport alleged Venezuelan gang members as part of his 2-month-old administration hardline approach to immigration. The Justice Department, in a filing, asked the court to lift Washington-based U.S. District Judge James Boasberg's March 15 order, calling for a temporary halt of the summary removal of the Venezuelans, while a legal challenge to Trump's invocation of the Alien Enemies Act to justify the deportation plays out. The 18th century law historically has only been used in wartime. The Justice Department said in its filing on Friday that the case presents the question of who decides how to conduct sensitive national security related operations. The president of the judiciary, the Constitution supplies a clear answer. The president, the department wrote, the Republic cannot afford a different choice. The U.S. Court of Appeals for the District of Columbia, we reported on this yesterday, upheld the temporary block as proceedings continued in the case. The dispute elicited Trump's grievances towards federal courts, which have had dozens of rulings impeding his agenda. Trump invoked, I don't know, Wendell. Everybody left me. It's just you. The Trump invoked the Alien Enemies Act on March 15th to swiftly deport the alleged members of the Tren de Aragua gang members, attempting to speed up removal with a law best known for its use to intern Japanese, Italian, and German immigrants during World War II. An illegal challenge handled by the American Civil Liberties Unions, we'll just call them ACLU, it's somewhat easier to say, a group of Venezuelan men in the custody of U.S. immigration on the same day sued on behalf of themselves and other similarly situated, seeking to block the deportations. Where do they get this money? I don't understand that. They argued, among other things, that Trump's order exceeded his power because the Alien Enemies Act authorizes removal only when war has been declared or the United States has been invaded. I'm not sure what else you would call what's going on. Boasberg, almost called him Blowsberg, an appointee of a Democrat President Obama, has temporarily blocked the deportations, but his administration allowed 2 planes already in the air to continue to El Salvador, where American officials handed over 238 Venezuelan men, Salvadorian authorities, to be placed in the Central America's country terrorism confinement center. The judge has scrutinized whether the administration violated his order by failing to return the deportation flights after his order was issued. Justice Department lawyers said the flights had left the U.S. airspace by the time Boasberg issued the written order and thus were not required to return. They dismissed the weight of his Boasberg's spoken order during a hearing 2 hours earlier, calling for any planes carrying deportees to be turned around. I remember one part of when I was studying law, they said the spoken word, if proven, is more powerful than the written word. So that could be trouble if that is true still legally. Trump's administration has argued that Boasberg's temporary ban encroached on presidential authority to make national security decisions. On March 18th, Trump called for Boasberg's impeachment by Congress, a process that could remove him from the bench, drawing rebuke from the U.S. Chief Justice John Roberts. Trump on social media called Boasberg, who was confirmed by the U.S. Senate in 2011 in a bipartisan 96-0 vote, a radical left lunatic, a troublemaker, and an agitator. The D.C. Circuit Court upheld his order after holding a contentious hearing that involved heated language. Judge Patricia Millett told the Justice Department lawyer Drew Ensign that Nazis got better treatment under the Alien Enemy Act than has happened here. Ensign responded, "We certainly dispute the Nazi analogy. Family members of those deported Venezuelan immigrants deny the alleged gang ties. Lawyers for one of the deportees, a Venezuelan professional soccer player and youth coach, said U.S. officials had wrongly labeled him as a gang member based on tattoos of a crown meant to honor his favorite team, Real Madrid." Well, all right then. Hey, Chris, welcome back. Chris, is there something to be said about let's see if I can find this, a crown for a team in Real Madrid? One of the Venezuelan gang members, well, alleged gang members, is saying that he's only got that tattoo because that's his favorite team. Maybe we should Google that and see. I don't know what that is, but you would think if you're from Venezuela and know the gang signs and gang things, you would probably not want to be associated with them. That could be seen as, well, bad. I don't know, just thinking. All right, so Boasberg, I still have not figured out the rotation, and that's something the Supreme Court is even going to ask. What is the rotation? How do you get chosen? How are judges issued? Is there a lottery? How do they get these cases? Because Boasberg now orders U.S. officials to preserve signal messages. This is like the 4th case I think he's on. Defendants shall properly make best efforts to preserve all signal communications from March 11th through the 15th of 2025, as ordered by U.S. District Judge James Boasberg. SecDef Pete Hegseth and other top officials who were a part of the chat group on messaging platform Signal discussing the attack must file a status report by 31 March on the steps they've taken to preserve the message. The order will expire on April 10th in the event the defendant's measures are satisfactory to the court. The order was handed down after a hearing involving government lawyers and the watchdog group American Oversight sued the officials this week over the recently disclosed chat on Signal. The mid-March discussion on Signal involved Hegseth, the Secretary of State and archivist Marco Rubio, and others. It centered on strikes in the Middle East against Houthi terrorists. Its existence was revealed after an editor-in-chief of The Atlantic was inadvertently added. American Oversight said in its complaint, which was filed in federal court in Washington, that Signal is not authorized to preserve Federal Records Act, to not preserve federal records, and at least one or more of the messages sent in the recent chat were deleted, violating Federal Records Act. I don't think they're deleted. I don't think they're stored on your phone. You determine how long it is stored on your phone. You can keep it forever, or you can have it delete in, I don't know, think as early as 24 hours or as long as 4 weeks. But you can set that it's a feature on the app. Like in my family chat, I think I have it set to basically keep all the chats, but in every other chat, I think it expires in like a month. So I think it's just something in the actual app. Okay. All right. An attorney for the government told the judge during the hearing that the government was certainly looking to fulfill its obligations in regard to the chats. The attorney also said agencies were looking to preserve the records they have, and that an order by the judge was unnecessary because the government was already working towards that goal. She cautioned the government was still in the process of determining which messages it possesses. U.S. government lawyers had said in a filing to the judge that American Oversight's allegations that officials have not taken measures to prevent the destruction of Signal messages and therefore violating the Federal Records Act is not reviewable by the court under current precedent. Even if the claims were reviewable, it is belayed by defendants' declarations submitted herewith. That declaration established the defendants are taking steps to locate and preserve the Signal chat, and at least one of the agencies has located, preserved, and copied into a federal record-keeping system a partial version of the chat. The case was assigned to Boasberg, who recently blocked the government from deporting suspected, confirmed members of the gang Tren de Halagüe under the maritime wartime law that Trump invoked, using authority to take them out. The assignment was random, according to the U.S. District of Columbia. It was random. Nothing is random. That's like saying in the legal world there's chance. Nothing is random. That was not random. So all right, so we'll continue this and then we'll hop into our normal stuff because, well, this just gets boring after a while. But this question is asked by the military leaders: when are classified war plans neither classified nor war plans? It's dumbfounding to even contemplate an argument that this would not be classified, said National Security Attorney Mark Zeed. Yeah, random. I agree. I don't know. It's been a hell of a week as such. Yes, it has been. As such, this is a special edition of the Pentagon Rundown. This is a news article from the Pentagon focusing solely on the continuing debate within the national security community about whether SecDef Hegseth improperly shared classified information about pending air and missile strikes against Houthi targets in Yemen. The editor-in-chief of The Atlantic reported on Monday, which we were one of the first to break that he had inadvertently been invited to join a group chat on Signal. It's a messaging app that included Hegseth and other top officials from the Trump administration. He also wrote that Hegseth had shared, quote, war plans with the chat group on March 15th about forthcoming strikes in Yemen. The phrase war plans has come up a lot lately. Don't worry, we'll come back to it further down, along with input from former director, I'm reading an article, of the CIA and NSA, as well as a military lawyer with decades of experience in handling these type cases. The message began with the words team update, and it included details about the type of aircraft that would be involved with the strikes, where planes would take off, when missiles would be launched, and the time when the first bombs were expected to drop. Hegseth wrote, "We're currently clean on OPSEC." No, you're not. No, you're not. Referring to operational security, and it's become a meme and a fodder and even a brand of hand sanitizer. Interesting. It's probably dirty hand sanitizer. Since the story first broke, Hegseth and other Trump administration officials have furiously argued that the information about the strikes was not classified and did not constitute war plans. So let me get this straight. Hegseth posted on X Wednesday. The Atlantic released the so-called war plans, and those plans included no names, no targets, no locations, no units, no routes, no sources, no methods, and no classified information. Those are some really shitty war plans. Speaking to reporters on Wednesday, Hegseth appeared to confirm the authenticity of the messages cited by the Atlantic. My job, as it said atop of that, everybody has seen it now. Team update is to provide updates in real time, general updates in real time, keep everyone informed, Hegseth said. That's what I did. But the attorney, Mark Zaid, said he is not persuaded by Hegseth's argument that the information about the strike shared in the chat was too vague to be considered classified. Even if they never happened, it still would have been classified for a period of time without a doubt. They were planning this strike on that specific day with those specific aircraft at that specific time, which could give a window into future operations. This attorney has decades of experiencing litigation, Freedom of Information Act requests for classified information. He said he has no doubt that the information about Yemen strikes was classified at the time it was sent. It's dumbfounding to even contemplate an argument that this would not be classified. It's reminiscent of the end of The Wizard of Oz. I can't believe they're quoting The Wizard of Oz in a court briefing, where the wizard is saying, don't look over at the man behind the curtains when you're staring right there at him. While Hegseth has the power to declassify information, he said he believes it is not realistic to do that. He did so before sending him messages about the Yemen strikes. Why in the world would the SecDef ever declassify sensitive military and operational plans when he thinks he's discussing it with only his other principals? He said, if they want to say it's now not classified because they declassified it, that's a separate issue. But it's laughable to say he declassified it before he was even sending it as part of a secret text conversation that no one in the public was ever meant to see. That's confusing in itself. Yep, basically, Chris, 4 more years of the legal battles of bullshit. Why can't we all just get along? Oh, mercy. So we're going to continue on. I don't know why. Retired Air Force General Michael Hayden, who led both the CIA and National Security Agency, has told us that he is convinced the information Hegseth shared before the strikes was classified and perhaps may even have been top secret. Top secret is a classification given to information that, if disclosed without authorization, reasonably could be expected to cause exceptionally grave damages to the national security. That's the legal definition. If an adversary had obtained that information Hegseth shared before the strikes, it is possible the U.S. military forces could have suffered casualties as a result. That said, this is going to happen. They talked about the drones and everything. They were naming the weapons. When I was a CIA director, we have a lot of drones. I didn't talk about them on the telephone. If Trump administration officials had been using a signal chat for the past 2 months, it is possible that Russia and China have already intercepted sensitive information sent on the messaging app. he stated, noting the NSA warned its employees in February that Signal is vulnerable to being exploited by U.S. adversaries. Well, they might be getting my family chats. I don't know. Hayden said he spoke with members of the U.S. intelligence committees who are appalled by his revelations, being the Atlantic editors, Signal chat group. The president, the vice president, the SecDef, Secretary of State, all of them are saying, oh, it's okay. Nothing to see here, he stated. Well, let me ask you this. We live in a world where everything is real time, right? So if you were on X and you were following breaking news and people in Yemen were reporting it, would it still be classified because then it's public source? I don't know the answer to that, but it seems to me we live in a different world now, so it is quite possible. But like everything else, a lawyer or a judge is going to have to define that. All right, we'll continue on with a little USA news before we jump into our normal stuff. Police have made an arrest in recent domestic terrorism attacks against a Tesla collision center in Las Vegas, Nevada, where several Tesla EVs were fully engulfed in flames. Authorities have arrested 36-year-old Paul Kim on Wednesday on charges including arson, possessing an explosive device. This is according to a report by KLAS Channel 8 News Now. He is accused of executing a targeted attack at the Tesla Center last week, which resulted in 5 damaged vehicles, including 2 fully engulfed. Police also revealed that they believe the person who set the fires is the same individual who fired gunshots into the cars. As Breitbart News reported, the attack prompted the FBI to investigate, while authorities said the assailant had used Molotov cocktails to carry out the endeavor. He used what appeared to be multiple Molotov cocktails and firearms to conduct his attack, according to the Metropolitan Las Vegas Police Department and Assistant Sheriff Dory Korean. He used the word resist and was spray painted on the front doors of the Tesla Center. It remains unclear which clues or leads authorities picked up on to lead to his arrest Wednesday. The suspect was reportedly due in court Thursday afternoon. Notably, nearby Las Vegas Tesla attacks arrived amid a slew of other terrorist attacks against Elon Musk and his company. On Friday, firefighters rushed to extinguish a fire blazing in a Tesla charging station in Fargo, North Dakota. It is believed to be intentionally set, according to the city's battalion chief. On the same day, Las Vegas Molotov cocktail incident, 2 Cybertrucks at a dealership in Kansas City caught fire, with investigators suspecting it to be arson. This weekend, arson has doused a Tesla EV with gasoline and set it on fire in Seattle, and police said the suspect poured it on a Tesla Model S sedan and lit it on fire before running away. A few weeks ago, 6 Cybertrucks reportedly spray painted with profanity and swastikas at a Tesla dealership in Linwood, Washington. A man who claims to identify as a woman was recently caught on camera vandalizing a newly constructed Tesla dealership in Chicago. That's an interesting headline. These attacks came after a Tesla Cybertruck was seen fully engulfed in flames in front of the Trump International Hotel in Las Vegas New Year's Day, with authorities calling it an active crime scene. No, I'm not even. And I don't know if anybody saw this, but this was funny. Wrong button, dummy. This individual, we'll just read the headline. Obese Texas man rammed ATV into parked Teslas in a hit and run spree. An obese man was arrested on Tuesday after allegedly using his ATV to deliberately ram into multiple parked Tesla vehicles in an unprovoked hit and run rampage in Texarkana, Texas. Demetrian Marquise Cox, age 33, was taken into custody by the Texarkana Police Department after one of the alleged attacks was captured on video by the very Tesla he intentionally crashed into. The incident occurred while the electric vehicle's owner was having lunch at a nearby restaurant. Let's see if it shows it, because yeah, it's just you can't. You just can't with some people. I mean, really? The footage obtained by local news stations show a 5'2", 440-pound Cox, backing up his ATV and then ramming head on into the side of the red Tesla, causing considerable damage to the front driver's side door. The owner was alerted to the attack by phone notification and estimated that replacing the entire door would cost over $1,000. Police were also called to an area after receiving reports of a second Tesla being damaged at a nearby Lowe's. Officers stopped Cox after a mile south of the Golden Palace, with one officer recognizing him from the video of the buffet restaurant. Did this at a buffet restaurant? I can't. He did it at a buffet. Was he kicked out? Okay. And the initial interrogation, Cox allegedly has provided false name and claimed to be someone else, but police weren't fooled by his cockery demeanor and proceeded with the arrest. Oh, they got him at the buffet. Based on what they had seen in the video, they knew for a fact that he was the one who at least hit the initial Tesla, said the Texarkana public information officer. Cox has been charged with felony criminal mischief, resulting in damage between $2,500 and $30,000, as well as failure to identify. He is currently being held at the Bi-State Prison Center on a $105,000 bond. Following the arrest, the third damaged Tesla was reported, with yet to be determined suspect carving Elon into the side of two other vehicles. While Cox has only been charged with damaging the first car, officials stated the investigation is ongoing and additional charges may be filed. Chris, do you ever really stop anything that large? There's a thing called inertia. The incident is the latest in a series of violent assaults and domestic terrorism against the Elon Musk-owned company following his work alongside the Trump administration. Several arsonists have been accused of setting fires to vehicles at dealerships, while others have defaced the cars with anti-Trump graffiti. In response, U.S. Attorney General Pam Bondi has charged 3 of the instigators with domestic terrorism for the alleged crimes, with each facing up to 20 years in prison. I'm just going to throw this out there. We've all seen the prison or the Trinidad members were taken. Can you imagine him taking this big cock there? I mean, he'll die. And what does he have strapped to his back? Is that a bike pump? What the hell? What? A air pump? 450-pound man at a buffet restaurant on an ATV. I just can't. All right, we're going to skip over to our normal stuff because I missed the top of the hour. It is now 2:00 Eastern Standard Time. I want to thank the Thin Line Rock Station. Well, I want to thank them for allowing me on, but yes, he does. He does look like the bartender on the Love Boat if he had been left in a buffet for many years. So I want to thank Radio X Australia and any of my listeners, because today I really have no idea why you're listening to me. We're going to go to the daily operations report briefing. This is the same report given to the president, except we don't get the secret squirrel stuff. So this is all open source information. All right. New significant or ongoing operations are the wildfires in North and South Carolina. While they're monitoring fire weather in the Southwest, freezing rain in the Northern Plains and the Upper Midwest. That's by you, Chris. Heavy rain and flooding in South Texas and the Central Gulf Coast, and severe thunderstorms in the Mississippi Valley. The wildfires in North Carolina have contributed to the new and ongoing fire activity. The FEMA Regional Administrator approved fire management assistance grants for the fire in the Black Cove complex in the Table Road. I just need more Mountain Dew. There's a link in my shows that if you want to buy me Mountain Dew, please do, because there are clearly enough Mountain Dews for today. The fires have burned approximately 18,300 cumulative acres with minimal containment and threaten communication structures, houses of worship, agriculture land in the eastern band of the Cherokee Indians tribal land. Mandatory and voluntary evacuations are in place. State and local resources from both North and South Carolina are working on it, along with FEMA and assistance from other teams. A TV video made Mad Day. That's why I'm here. Like, subscribe to get the full version of this show. And for any of you on Radio X in Australia, or Yerg's Radio, Rainbow Radio, please come over to YouTube and find us under the Para Are Normal Guys, guys spelled with a Z. Found it by searching the Sportcat Daily Gazette, and you can watch my shenanigans as they take place live and in real time, because that video, we need AI to put like a Hostess Twinkie on his back or something. I don't know. That's me to be wrong. Okay, so the fires in the Carolinas have barely been contained, one at 5% and the other at 17%, while one they have zero containment on. The fire weather outlook today is not looking good for little bit of Texas there, all of New Mexico, Oklahoma. You're still under the gun, but there is some good news. Yes, the radio listeners did miss out on that video. They can find it on X pretty easily, but it's one of those things you just have to watch in real time to get the effect of. So no, it's just Mountain Dew so far today. Just Mountain Dew. That's after the way the day's going. I don't know. So tomorrow, New Mexico, Texas, Oklahoma are going to be under the fire weather threat. While today's weather forecast, as we've discussed previously, it's got a mixed bag of precipitation pretty much from the Oregon, Washington, Northern California region all the way across the top of the United States there at the Canadian border, including Montana, Nebraska, Michigan, Minnesota, Wisconsin, extending down into New York, Vermont, New Hampshire, and Maine. It's going to be a mixed bag of tricks. Colorado and the higher elevations, you're going to see some snow. Wyoming, you're going to get some rain, while thunderstorms are going to hit the South, the Midwest, and the Ohio Valley region, stretching into the New York region, possibly even into the metropolitan Washington, D.C. area. Tomorrow, Saturday, the storms are expected to be highest pretty much over Oklahoma, Kansas, Missouri, but that will extend further from the Gulf of America almost up to the Great Lakes on Sunday across to the mid-Atlantic area. So the severe weather outlook today, mainly lots of rain for some portions of the country, especially the Texas Panhandle and the Gulf of America and up along the Midwestern states, with Saturday anticipating to be more intense in the Oklahoma region, while Sunday the intensity will spread throughout the southeast. They have an ice accumulation forecast, which I haven't seen in days, but there's concern in anywhere from Bismarck all the way across to the Great Lakes, with the highest areas of concern being the tip of Michigan and over into the upper Maine, Vermont, New Hampshire regions. Of course, the accumulation forecast will be for the highest of elevations. As we've discussed, the hazard outlook for the next 30 days, because FEMA will be off for the next 3 days. The only thing that we didn't note was high winds on the coasts of Alaska, up to 40 miles an hour. And we see that currently FEMA is operating 32 joint field offices, 91 major disasters, 8 emergency declarations, 12 direct housing missions, 28 additionally supported, and 6 recovery offices. So we see there the map that they are basically the whole southeast from Florida up through Maryland, extending over through the north to the west to Alabama Mississippi, Louisiana, Oklahoma, and Texas. So if you're in those areas, be weather aware. All right, so that is enough of our FEMA briefing. Today, let's find out what our president's doing. He's not in court. He had there is always a 9 a.m. pool press camera call time. In other words, the press has to be in there at 9 a.m. 12:45, the out of town pool call time. In other words, the people who are going to travel with the president. At 1 o'clock, 1300, the president participated in the swearing in ceremony for the university. Good Lord. For the U.S. Attorney of New Jersey. At 2 o'clock, 2 o'clock today, the president, and he has already done it, has departed White House en route to Joint Base Andrews. At 2:10, just a few moments ago, he is expected to arrive and board the plane. At 2:20, he departs en route to Palm Beach International Airport. We'll look at the director NOTAM where people can't fly around it. And the president will arrive in Palm Beach at 4:25. And at 4:35, he will go to Mar-a-Lago. And at 4:50, he will be in Mar-a-Lago, and there will be a lid called. In other words, the day is done. So the president will be traveling to his home in Mar-a-Lago this weekend, probably to do some golfing. Let's look at something here. We said that he was going to depart when? He was going to depart Andrews at 2:20. So he should theoretically, he should be in the air, right? Or about to be, if we can pull it up. Pull up the air traffic. At any point in time, there's a city right over your head. So let's pull up what we have here. Well, I don't see anything of yet. Nothing yet. These are all military planes. We'll keep an eye on this. Maybe we can see it as it's flying today. So we'll keep that map up just for giggles. And as we zoom out, this is U.S. military aircraft around the world and what they're doing. I wish we could track the Navy. That would be kind of cool. But we did see that on one of our maps yesterday. All right. So the National Weather Service, this is their daily briefing. Nothing new to report here. Like this full screen. There's nothing in the Atlantic or the Pacific of concern as far as tropical weather. And we're not quite into hurricane season yet, but it is a concern as we are approaching it. And nothing else significant. The drought outlook has not changed, and that's pretty much remained the same. So we will skip through that, and let's hop over here. This site is called Zoom Earth, and we look in on our friendly neighbors down under, and we see that Storm Diane is taking a turn. It's a Tropical 1 cyclone and is coming ashore right around Broome, probably a little bit to the northeast of Broome. And there's a lot of the cone of uncertainty shows that it will be traveling inland. And by Saturday, it will be well inland and it will be decreased to a tropical low, but it will still have winds of up to 30 miles per hour. So that is for Australia. That is their current concern in Western Australia. We'll pull up the radar real quick here. And we see along the coastlines of Australia, there is pretty much spotty showers, some heavier ones in New South Wales, down around Sydney, Melbourne, and up around Brisbane. They're still recovering from the flooding from the last typhoon, and I'm sure that Typhoon Diane will not be helping them any. Anticipated precipitation amounts along the coast of Western Australia in the north to the west. Hey, I like this map. I never noticed that. Look at that, Chris. It's got rain showers on it. There you will be able to, you see the rain intensifying around the center of the typhoon with heavier accumulations along the along the shore of northern Australia, in the Northern Territories. And then you look down here and we see heavier accumulations, Brisbane and the Gold Coast down into Sydney, New South Wales. So that's pretty neat. I never realized if you zoom in, you see the actual rain showers. So Chris says, I have to admit, I'm waiting for the map that shows Columbus, Ohio, just because I find it completely unnecessary to display them. I'm trying to figure out their agenda. Who knows? Columbus may have a secret. So there we go. I did not realize when I zoomed in, it would show the actual intensity of the rain. And here we have Courtney, which is like a cyclone at 125 miles an hour. She is currently a category 4. If we zoom in, she's got a nice tight center core with a heavy rain band and high winds. And we see that she is expected to travel into the Indian Ocean. And by Wednesday at 8 a.m., it's relatively low chance of her being anything more than a depression, than a cyclone. All right, so let's hop over to our continent in the United States, and we'll look at the areas of precipitation. Here we see Houston and North Huntsville up all the way almost to Texas. Well, it actually is Texarkana is getting rains, with the heaviest parts being around Brennan in the storm centered offshore. Up in the northeast, we see that this storm is headed from Columbus. There you go, Chris. It's going from Columbus almost to Washington, D.C., but it's light rain. As we move further into the northeast, we see the rain mixed bag of precipitation around the Great Lakes and into Burlington, Vermont, and New Hampshire. It will turn to snow. We see the snow band up along Thunder Bay there, over Lake Superior, extending down into Huntsville. Heavier snows in Duluth, which is Minnesota. Pretty much from Fargo to Duluth, there is a snow band there. And as we skip across the country, we see Spokane is getting some very light rain, and at the higher elevations, it is light snow. Seattle, it rains every day in Seattle, and there's light snow expected in the Yakima Valley. Along the northern coast, going down Salem, Eugene, that area is going to be getting light rain with snow in the higher elevations, and anyone in the Redding area is getting light rain all the way down to Sacramento. Chris, in the middle part of the country where you are, it's just cloudy at the moment. So hang tight. There is no tropical depressions in the Atlantic and none in the Pacific that we are concerned with at this time. And let's hop back down to Australia and take a look at the wind map for them, this wind map, and see what it shows us. And it shows us that the storm Diane, which is still a category 1, is really drawing air off of the entire western coastline from the south to the north and pulling it inward, as it is also pulling it from the northern territory as well, from the coastline of South Australia. It's pulling in the moisture from there with some winds. And currently it's showing, let's see if we can go here to the highest wind speed. It's showing a 45 mile per hour right now as the highest wind speed. I don't know how up to date that is. Look at temperatures real quick. It's going to be a warm one in Western Australia during the cyclone, with highs in the 80s in Western Australia. And then as you hop across the country, the Northern Territories is expected to be a mild 60s. And in Queensland, we will have some highs near 80 along the coastline, as well as down in New South Wales. Let's go over to our continent, and we will see the current high. High of 77 predicted for me here, 76 in Atlanta. Let's see. Anything in Columbus, a 66. Up in Burlington, they're only going to get to 39 today. And as we travel across the Midwest, Des Moines, 77. Omaha, 80. And down into Texas, only in Amarillo South, you will see highs in the 80s, which part of it being cool and relatively mild as far as Texas weather in the 60s. You see Las Vegas is going to make a high of 68. Ooh. And Seattle, you will have a high of 50. All right. All right. I'm going to zoom out on this map because in some ways I feel like I'm done with it, but it is also another pleasant one to look at. So even if it does show Columbus, Chris. So, all right. And we did this just basically a few minutes ago, but this shows the cone of uncertainty on Diane as it comes inshore in Broome with the other rainfall throughout the continent. We see that also traveling off to the southwest with Courtney. She's currently an angry category 5 because she has no resistance in the open sea. And let's see, we'll bring this up in a better map here in a second. Let's see here. There we go. That's the one I like. So this map is brought to us by GMA. It shows specific alerts for the United States. We see there's red flag warnings here. And where are we at? We are in, zoom out a little bit, Oklahoma, of course. And then special weather statements across the Midwest. That's probably for air quality, with intensities of storm being currently the highest up just north of Columbus, Chris, around Toledo, and down in West Virginia, where Cheyenne is, there's a strong storm. Other precipitation is off the coast. This down here, there's a tornado watch currently off of the coast of South America in Texas. As that storm comes inland, there's a tornado watch currently and a tornado warning. We have a tornado warning currently. We'll pull this up in our warnings map in Sabine, Louisiana. So they've got a tornado warning for one supposedly on the ground. So be weather aware, have your weather radio ready to go, and be ready. As we zoom out here across the country, we see other red flag warnings in Texas and New Mexico, as we discussed. And gale coast advisories along the Pacific coast. And small craft advisories in the Gulf of America. And we'll zoom out a little bit more. And will pretty much show us the exact same thing. The tracks of Courtney and Diane, where the rainfall and aggravated storms are. All right, so we'll leave this map. Go over here to weather warning. And what do you want to bet? I'm going to update this. What do you want to bet? Andy has done a test again. Anybody want to take bets? Oh, boom. First one up. Why did they? All right, so we have the severe thunderstorms warnings in Louisiana, special weather statements in Texas. And in case I didn't say it again today, this is weather warning. You can go to weather warning and it will pull up all the warnings in the United States. It'll have a map showing the activity, thunderstorms, wind, and tornadic activity on the right. And you can scroll through all of the warnings that are going on across the United States. We see flood warnings out on the West Coast with special marine warnings across the Pacific Coast, up and down the Pacific Coast, and small craft advisories in the Gulf of America. We have the tornadoes in Louisiana and Texas. One of them is now a tornado warning, so turn on your local weather and get updates in real time. There's a winter storm watch in Montana. Yes, authorities have questioned. And for those of you that aren't familiar, Andy is one of my casts on another show that is very into fire radios. And for some reason, apparently, it seems he likes to test the weather radio system in Maryland daily. I don't understand it. Let's see. So red flags in Colorado. You want to be weather aware. There's a fire weather watch in Colorado for my friend in Colorado. Shout out to her. And an ice storm warning extreme in Michigan. That's up along the tip, the little glove part there. Actually, I think it's to the part that you can only access through Canada. See, that right there is the reason we need to take Canada, so we can reclaim that without having to go into another country to get to it. There you go. See, that's our reason that they should be our 51st state. And for those of you that do not tune into my Wednesday night show, we had a Canadian author, and I asked her about how the Canadians felt, and she said that she thinks they would rather stay Canadian and not become Americans. So I can't say that I blame them. In Maine and New Hampshire, a winter storm watch, which we discussed. And let's see, special weather statement in Virginia. What is that for? It's for probably small to moderate storms. And I'm just scrolling through this, but you can see this is extensive. If you're watching, you can see this is an extensive site that shows all of the NOAA weather warnings and watches and alerts. Like there's an air quality alert in Tennessee and Georgia, down along, probably looks like it's down around the northwest in Chattanooga region. We'll cover air quality in just a second. All right, let's jump out of that one and go over to the air quality and see what it looks like today. Well, what are we saying? Right there along the border of Chattanooga, Georgia, just the tip of Alabama is extreme air quality, and Knoxville is moderate. Atlanta dropping down into there is still moderate. For my friends in Birmingham, all the way down to Montgomery and Columbus, there is some pretty sensitive extreme weather going on. It looks as though much of the air today in the United States is of poor quality, except along the DC metropolitan and Southwest Virginia, extending down to the Outer Banks. And much of Florida, with the exception of probably Orlando and Tallahassee, has some poor air quality today. Zooming out, we see the Midwest is pretty clear. Texas, you're almost in the clear. New Mexico, you're not looking so good. Any higher elevations in the Rocky Mountains, you can anticipate from Salt Lake City northward over to even Boise, some extreme air quality conditions. So if you're sensitive, please remain indoors. And down in San Diego, it looks as though your air quality is not very good there. We'll see how much this is influenced by the smoke in the smoke map. Here is the actual fires that are reported. And one thing of note, the Oklahoma cities, even though it's not really showing it here, they are decreasing. They're getting a really good grip on them. However, the ones in the Appalachian Mountains on the Carolina sides are really nowhere near containment, and they're growing. And there's now some fires reported from the Appalachian Valley through the Blue Ridge Valley into the Allegheny Mountains, almost all the way up into Pennsylvania. So, and down in Orlando, we still have the one fire. The one in the Everglades is still going, and the one in Miami has not been contained as of yet. They are working on it. We'll look in a minute. I found another site that shows us the exact containment. Chris, no fires for you in Illinois. Denise, if you're still with me, it looks like up where you're at, there's no real fires reported. However, that could change over the weekend with these storms, so be weather aware. Nothing out on the West Coast, so I'm sure they're glad to have the break from the fires they had there. Okay, this is just basically, I pull this up to show us the smoke map so that we can see where the smoke is going and what the air quality causes it's having. So we see much of the smoke and fires from Montana and Oklahoma. From Oklahoma is sitting on itself. It's not moving very much, as well as one up in Kansas. The ones in Missouri, the same thing. The only ones causing a moderate problem are the ones in the Appalachia, and it's extending up through the Blue Ridge Valley area, causing some air quality issues. But most of the smoke is staying in place, meaning it's not a very windy day in the United States. The fires down in Central America have caused smoke to go out into the Gulf of America and out into the Pacific. All right, so let's take a look at. All right, so I brought this up because this shows us exactly on the fires. Oh, Chris says only gunfire. Well, that's probably true. This shows us all the fires. It's by the timing. Let me refresh this because this is old. So Montana, they have a controlled or prescribed burn, and they haven't determined the size of acreage. They have another burn in Colorado. It's prescribed. It's under control. Georgia wildfire, 1,936 acres are burning. North Carolina, 628 acres are burning. It's just basically showing. But one thing I want to note about this, you scroll down and see the updates from just recently, you will notice the ones in Montana are decreasing in size. So we're happy about that. And Oklahoma. So, all right. Hey, Brenda's here. Glad you made it, Brenda. You get the last few minutes of my show. All right, so there is that. And we'll look at the power outages. The main parts of the country being affected by power outages are currently California with 13. Let me refresh just to make sure that's still accurate. Nope, California in the clears. Texas, you are now reporting 10,647 people without power. It looks as though it's mainly down in Terrell County, some in Dimmitt, and in Kennedy, with Panola, Marion, and Morris being the other areas. Brenda, only you could live in a state that has a county named Dammit. All right. It's a joke. It's really named Dammit. All right. We look at the real-time lightning map. This shows us in real time the intensities of the storm. Right now, right along the Corpus Christi, Victoria area, you are getting hammered by that storm in excessive lightning. And then a little bit to the northeast up into, was that Beaumont North is experiencing pretty much all around Houston. Offshore, if you're on a oil rig, you probably should stay indoors right about now. And, you know, I don't see for that, well, I guess it would be this cell here, the intense lightning where they had the tornado warning, but that looks to me that it's not Louisiana. I mean, I guess it is, but it's right there on the border of Louisiana and Texas. So that storm right there could potentially have a tornado in it. The other activity is up in Little Rock. It's not as extreme as your neighbors to the south, where they're getting hammered at the moment. Right now, West Virginia, you're getting hammered by a thunderstorm. And we can see the lightning there in Harrisville, extending west to Parkersburg. So they're getting some intense lightning. And let's see where we're here. Up here in Fort Wayne, north of Fort Wayne, and pretty much extending almost over to the Great Lake there. A little band with some severe lightning. Chris, nothing up for you around there. There is a small front up in Michigan that's got a little bit of activity. A little bit of energy to it up in Michigan. But that is right now currently the lightning map. Let's see. I never remember daily. Does this cover Australia? Yes, it does. And we see the intensity right now where the cyclone is located is where the most intense lightning activity is. But it looks as though Western Australia on the coastline right there joining Northern Australia is where the worst lightning activity is. There's some other sporadic activity throughout the continent, but that is where the worst is. Somebody hasn't hit the thumbs up button. Well, everybody needs to hit that thumbs up button, please. I need everybody to hit that thumbs up button. I need you to like, share, subscribe. And while you're at it, on all the other channels, Radio X in Australia, Yerg's Radio, and Rainbow Radio, come over to YouTube and find us, the Paranormal Guys, spelled with a Z. Chris said that he got hail at 3:30 a.m. and he was not happy. I wouldn't be happy either. So, and thank you, Brenda, for hitting the thumbs up button. We'll just scan through the allergies, and pretty much it's the same as yesterday. It's only going to intensify in the south, especially today from the Atlanta region all the way up to the Outer Banks is where that tree pollen is going to be the worst, and the other pollens will be getting worse with it. For your aches and pains, Chris, you might be... No, thanks. I don't have time for you today. Chris, you might be experiencing some aches and pains. It looks like that region there, the Great Lakes region, all is experiencing some intense pain. Down in New Mexico, some intense pain levels down there, and probably up into Maine. So there you go. Wendell, did you hit that thumbs up button? I need to know. Asking for a friend. All right, so here's our favorite map. I'll pull this up for everybody. This is our favorite map with the exception of Brenda, because she does not think it's a marble. We can see the AI wind flow. You can see there that most of the activity is centered off of the mid-Atlantic region, with that front just drawing in air all across the Atlantic, really pulling energy out of the Gulf of America. Wendell says he always hits the thumbs up before he gets in the chat. Well, thank you, Wendell. It is much appreciated. Off the Pacific, really the coastline is the windiest. The mountains of Colorado are going to be extremely windy today. And along some of the, I don't know, was this Ohio, Chris? along in the Midwest, extending up into the Great Lakes, is that energy that's being pulled from this depression right here. So it's really pulling from the Atlantic down through the Gulf of America back across the center of the country. That's where the most wind is for today. We'll look here in a minute and see where the windiest section is. Let's hop over here and to the down under, not that far down under. Let's look at how tightly formed that wind band is along that cyclone that's going to spin out into the Indian Ocean. It's pretty dang windy. If I can get a top speed there. They're estimating around 92 miles an hour. 127 as you get to the center of that cyclone. Goodness gracious. Yep, it's in the high 100s, 135 or 20 zones. Yeah, 135. Good Lord. All right. Let's go over here to Australia and look at Diane and see the wind speeds. Estimated 68 kilometers an hour. So it's still pretty tight, and it has not made it inshore too far, but it's still got a pretty tight center with some high winds. So be weather aware in Australia. That is a nasty looking little cyclone. Yes, Courtney is very tight. She is that is a very well formed storm. There's lots of energy in that right there. I mean, that is, luckily it is drifting out to the Indian Ocean and won't affect anyone. So yeah, that's nasty. For those of you that are missing this on Rainbow Radio, Yerg's Radio in Australia, Radio X, you can come over and check out the AI wind map and see how tight Courtney is. She's pretty tight. All right, so hold on a minute. Let me make Brenda happy here and put the world on a plate so you can see the entire, or the flat earth, whichever way you want to look at it, winds across or around, whichever way you look at it, the world. And we see that cyclone is just really nasty looking. Yeah, it's just nasty. All right. We'll stop making Brenda happy for a minute. And let's see. We can go to the currents, or no, let's go to the waves. See what the waves are looking like around that nasty storm. Look at how it is pushing the water out from its center. That is intense. Whew. Courtney has definitely got a lot of energy. I mean, she is disbanding the water all around her with great energy. If we look at the currents and how they are, she is just pushing it out. Goodness gracious, that's a nasty storm. Luckily, it will go offshore. Look here at waves coming inland in Australia, and it is really pounding the coast there. She's not as tight formed anymore, but it's certainly a nasty storm. So please be weather aware. The center has not come ashore just as of yet. It's just starting to make its way there. So please, in Australia, be weather aware. All right, let me refresh this. This shows us the highest winds in the U.S. and Columbus. And Columbus right now is reporting winds of 12 miles an hour. Chicago, the Windy City, you're getting winds about 16 miles an hour. Stop telling people, Brenda, do you believe it or not? You should be proud of your beliefs. If you're not proud of it, I can't help you. I don't know why I keep zooming in. I want to zoom out. Zoom me out. When does it take me out? Good Lord. I'm going to have to refresh it again. All right. I inadvertently clicked on Columbus, and good Lord. All right. So the windiest activity appears to be up here in, was that Montana, with winds of, well, about almost 30 miles an hour. So that's the highest winds coming along through the. We talked about that the waves and energy being pulled from the Atlantic through down the Gulf over Florida. It's got create a little bit of creation. I did not watch the show yet, Wendell. I have not had time to even think. So, no, I did not, Wendell. Everybody check out Wendell's show, especially in Australia, because he talks about Yowie. And anybody in Australia on Radio X that has a Yowie experience that would like to contact me, my email is in my show description or at sportcat@protonmail.com. I would love to have you on the show to tell your Yowie experience. We look at the big blue globe here, according to NOAA, and it's pretty much as we showed with the other, but these are just the cloud coverage on the globe. And that right there is the daylight darkness split. And we go down under and look there and zoom in, and we can see that storm in Australia has got a high, tight cloud. And Courtney, look at the cloud formation over Courtney. So it's a very powerful storm. It's picking up a lot of energy because it's remaining out at sea. So luckily it will not harm anybody. Wendell, this one is for you. This is the latest earthquakes. And we see the latest one was in the mid-Atlantic region, and it's not causing any problems for us. Let's see. We talked about the one over in Asia, and they have just been hammered with earthquakes and aftershocks in Thailand. So the biggest one was what, 17.7 or 7.7 was the most severe, but they've had some aftershocks of 4.5 and 4.9. The highest in Burma was 6.7. I don't think that was an aftershock. That was probably a primary earthquake. Give me your link and I'll pass. Well, it's in my show description, Wendell. Everything is in the show description. Way to contact me. If it's not in today's, it will be later today, or you can look at one of my previous shows. But you can find me at the paranormalguys@gmail.com or sportcat@protonmail.com. And of course, you can find me on YouTube at paranormalguys, spelled with a Z. So there's your earthquake map. We look here real quick. This is the Emergency Response Coordination Center. They talk about things daily with world maps. And we see here, this is probably going to be the map of Asia where the earthquake was, showing the intensity and the severity of that earthquake. And it was the 7.7, and they had the 6.4 following it. And we can see how large the shake radius was for that earthquake. And we zoom down here. They have another daily map that kind of confuses me, but we will pull it up anyhow. Maybe we can figure it out. It's the UCPM consular activations. And I'm not really sure what that means. Civil protection mechanism, showing the responses of the different countries and how many flights they have had. And I'm assuming this has to do with repopulation, but I'm really not sure. But they publish that every Friday on daily maps. And let's see, that's the most recent. We'll go to measles. Right now, measles is coming full force in Texas, New Mexico. And when was this activity updated? So now 483 cases in the United States, resulting in a 14% hospitalization, the majority of those being under the age of 5. 2 reported deaths. 1 is confirmed, the other is under investigation. So let's see. And this was updated as 27 March. This was yesterday. And we see here all the states that have measles cases. In Texas with 250, New Mexico 10 to 49, Kansas about the same, Tennessee has 1 to 9, Kentucky 1 to 9, up in Ohio 1 to 9, Michigan 1 to 9. They had 1 to 9 over in New York City. So it's relatively small numbers throughout the South. anticipate for this to grow. It's even into Alaska. Remember, we're a international country, so it has spiked and will continue to spike. And this map shows, as of the 27th, the percentage of people vaccinated. Unfortunately, Georgia is in the lower, whereas Tennessee is in the higher. Yeah, these are areas of unvaccinated children. So, well, not just children, I guess adults too. All right, so let's get out of that one real quick. We'll do the respiratory viruses, and we see that respiratory viruses are spiking in Louisiana and Arkansas, pretty much remaining the same throughout much of the South, with it raising only slightly in the Carolinas, up into Iowa. In Kentucky, it is elevated. Nevada, it is also higher. The flu map, it is starting to dissipate as spring comes in, but through the mid-Ohio Valley region down through the southeast, it is still remaining pretty high. Only along the coastline areas is it decreasing. You have heard nothing about the measles cases? Well, they've made national news. There's been an outbreak across the country, but it started at the Texas-New Mexico border. All right. Let's go back over here and see if we can pull anything up. What do we have here? Yes, there we have it. We have Air Force One has departed and is currently headed south. There you go. So that is current real time. Well, it's close to real time. Brenda says, do not comply. Well, Brenda, you are not a doctor, so luckily you don't give medical advice. We'll go over here to the events list and look at it and see. What did I just hit? I don't know what I just hit, but I don't like it. There we go. No, don't want the map. I want the list. The list, please. My computer decides to run slow. Brenda says that her doctor doesn't know anything about it either. Well, then your doctor needs to read AMA things. All right, so we're just going to go through on events reported either overnight or today. Epidemics, norovirus is seen in the Bahamas and is elevated. It's probably due to a cruise ship in Nigeria. Meningitis has killed 74. Good Lord. In epidemic hazards, we see in Haiti, they have cholera in Haiti, and jumping down into infections. In Bulgaria, a baby has died of meningococcal infection. It's got meningitis. Yesterday in New Zealand, somebody was poisoned in Canterbury Lake. In Haiti, we know you've remained in turmoil for a while. So the Netherlands are reporting several were wounded near Dam Square. And in the United States, 4 dead following a shooting inside Pembroke Park apartment. We reported that yesterday. Demonstrations in Nepal, 2 dead as cops use tear gas sticks to break up a pro-monarchy rally. And then in Zimbabwe, the police are flooding the streets to crush anti-government protests. Overnight, Congress protests turned violent in India with 25 injured in clashes with the police. In Russia, they are reporting terrorism of citizens arrested in Moscow plotting to bomb crowded areas. Pakistan, 11 terrorists have been neutralized overnight. And let's see, we talked about that. Israel war still grows. Ukraine war still growing. Severe air pollution in Laos. And Canada, you have had an oil spill in St. Clair River in Ontario. And let's see. India, fire broke out at a girls' hostel, and dramatic visuals show girls jumping from the valley. That was in India. Fire burns at an animal hospital in the Bronx with no injuries. Overnight, 6 were hospitalized at a residential fire in Colorado. And in Turkey, 1 person was killed in a fire at a ski resort. And we reported all about the outdoor fires burning through Africa and Asia in North America, an avalanche in Kansas. We talked about that yesterday in Pemberton. Earthquakes we've covered. There's been a lot of moving and shaking going on in the past 24 hours. And let's see here. We're still monitoring the volcanoes in Hawaii. And in Croatia, they've had some heavy rainfall causing flooding, prompting an emergency response. And all of West Coast warned of dangerous ocean conditions. This wasn't there yesterday, so let's take a look at this. United States, all of West Coast U.S. warned of dangerous ocean conditions. The National Weather Service offices along the U.S. coastline have issued weather alerts warning of dangerous ocean condition caused by a strong offshore storm. As of Thursday morning, a myriad of weather alerts have been issued along the West Coast, including a storm, a high surf warning, a hazardous sea warning, and a beach hazard statement, along with small craft advisories and others. On Oregon's coast, breaking waves could reach up to 32 feet, prompting a high surf. Oh, that is pretty high surf. So, and Medford is reporting a extremely large breaking waves. So stay off of the coastline. It looks to be dangerous if you're on the coastline of Oregon or Washington. How could Eugene? Oh, it's got to be the weather service in Eugene, because I'm saying if Eugene is reporting 32 mile an hour or 32 foot waves, they're a minute from the coast there, but it's got to be the weather office is located in Eugene. All right, so we'll get back to that in a minute. And let's see. We talked about that one. We've talked about that. We talked about this. Nigeria, 34 hospitalized due to heavy metal poisoning. It's in Africa, Nigeria. And in Belgium, disaster planning calls for EU households to prepare for 72-hour survival kits. Now, that should be an alarming warning to America. Belgium is telling its citizens, its households, to prepare for 72 hours. In other words, for 72 hours, you will not have any assistance from the federal, local, or state agencies. That should be a warning to America. That's in Europe. There's something going on they're not telling us there. Let's see. We talked about the Mediterranean Sea with the fish capable of biting off fingers. That was an ugly, scary-looking fish, but that's interesting. Let's just pull it up. Why are they calling for that? Do they say why? Bottled water, energy bars, flashlight, and more. All right, so we're going to cover this real quick before we go off of Radio Australia, Radio X. They're urging their citizens to have a 3-day survival kit in case of a crisis, a conflict, a pandemic, or natural disaster. It is the EU has listed 30 concrete ways for member states to boost their preparedness, counseling residents to have enough resources to be self-sufficient for 72 hours in case they are cut off from essential services. The 72-hour survival kit is part of a broader preparedness strategy in line with a key report last year strengthening Europe's civilian and military preparedness as they face new challenges and crises. We must think differently because the threats are different. We must think bigger because the threats are bigger. Knowing what to do in case of danger, gaming out different scenarios. There's also a way to prevent people from panicking. They don't want to recall, she recalls shelves being stripped of toilet paper and water in the early days of COVID, and they are posting on social media for citizens to keep an emergency bag, including medicine, essential documents in a plastic pouch, as well as a Swiss Army knife. Now, that's saying something in the EU if they're telling you to get a Swiss Army knife, because large bladed knives are banned in many parts of the EU. Citizens are urged to stock up on a dozen key items, including matches, a radio. I've already told you to have your weather radio as part of your resilience kit. Aimed at ensuring member states are on track with the plans, this comes in addition to national strategies and better coordinating and supporting member and preparedness strategies. The survival kit in particular takes inspiration from Scandinavia, where Finland, Sweden, and Denmark have all stepped up efforts for households to prepare for the possibility of a future crisis or conflict. Key words here: as Ukraine fights a grinding war against a three-year-long Russian invasion. In a letter, the EU chief tells lawmakers from the European Parliament centrist group, urging them to go further by sending out a handbook. We're going to download this handbook to every household preparing for various crises. All right, so there you have it. The EU is urging all their citizens to have a 72-hour preparedness kit that's coming out today. So that's kind of important. Even though that's located on an ocean away, we should be thinking about that here in the States. And Australia, you are already facing crises from cyclones, so you should be prepared as well. But that's should be a stark warning for the United States of America if the EU is telling its citizens to prepare. In Australia, they reported a plane crash at an international air show. The pilot is in critical condition. And let's see. Pakistan, 4 dead, 3 injured as a dump truck overturns in Istanbul. And in Nepalese, India, 3 killed, 4 critical as an SUV overturns. Well, hopefully it wasn't the guy driving that ATV down in Texas or wherever that was. Pakistan, 6 dead, 20 hurt as vehicles collide in Pakistan. And school bus crash overturns in Walls Township, New Jersey. Remember, I said that yesterday. I just didn't have an exact location, leaving 5 injured. Italy, northern tour bus falls off a bridge, plunging into the river. 1 person killed, 3 injured. And in Phoenix, 8 injured following a traffic collision involving a bus. Water incidents. The Taiwan Navy ship and Chinese fishing trawler have collided. In Egypt, 6 dead after the tourist submarine sinks, and that's a Russian submarine, by the way. Let's see, Indian Ocean, tropical cyclone, and Courtney. So Australia, we've already talked about that, and we're not going to go into that, and leave that. Radio X, we're about to lose you. Thank you to everybody at Radio X in Australia. I appreciate your support, and I encourage you to hear the last few minutes of the show. Come over to the YouTube channel, Paranormal Guys with a Z. Guys is spelled with a Z. Or just search out Sportcat's Daily Gazette. We're going to be live for just a few more minutes as we cover the rest of some other things breaking out. So, yeah, Texas, you're still under the tornado warnings and watches. Everybody in Radio Australia, have a great day, a great weekend. Happy Friday. I'm actually going to make a Friday, happy Friday video. So let's see something. Next week, I'm going to see if I can cover this intelligence map with world events a little closer. Hopefully, I'll be able to find out things going on down in Australia. I'm still trying to figure out how to track fire departments in Australia. So if anybody has any hints or tips, they can message me on speakpipe.com/sportcat, or you can send me an email at sportcat@protonmail.com, and I will be more than glad to correspond with you. All right, so let's go into things going in. It's Saturday there. What? No, hold on. Where is my world time? No, I think it is. Where's my world time now? Down under, it is, I just passed it. It is tomorrow, yes, at 6 a.m. So, yes, I hope they're already enjoying their weekend. So, we just lost Radio X in Australia. So, I hope they're having a great weekend. A happy Friday. And, epidemics, what is that map? That's in Warsaw. 2nd case of diphtheria has been confirmed in Poland. All right, we'll go back to, I had not seen that one before. And let's see if protests in the USA, I know there's several scheduled for this weekend. Where is this one? This is in North Dakota. That was 9 days ago, but I saw that there were some protests scheduled for today and over the weekend. Let's see, that's all 11 days ago. See if there's anything new. That one is a month ago. And I don't see anything new here, but I saw that there had been some scheduled protests over the weekend. So be aware of your surroundings. Um, let's see. I'm going to go down to, I'm just looking at this map real quick to see if it shows us anything new. Ooh, you can. All right. Well, I'm not going to do that while we're online. We'll just go to the USA and what's going on in the continental USA, and we will see if there's anything new. All right. So let's go up around where Denise is. Start up around Boston, where they've had several fires. Woodburn. I know you're not in Boston, Denise. And fire in Belmont. And down in, where is this one? Suspects identified by Providence police and shots fired. Okay, we talked about that yesterday. There were shots fired down there. Going over here, a driver killed after his car crashes and catches fire. Okay, where is that? That is in, where is that? Is that New York or that's Pennsylvania? No, it's Connecticut. Gosh, get my geography right. Let's see. Structure fire started in the kitchen, smoke showing, and it was in Waterbury. They have released the identity of 3 people involved in the shooting. All right, so hop down here. What do we have? We got this little speaker megaphone. 2 hours ago, UN rejects Putin's call for temporary administration in Ukraine. They say that legitimate government must be respected, dismissing external governments under UN as part of a peace deal. Well, if you're not paying attention, the EU really wants war. Bronx has an all-hands fire 7 hours ago, and 2 injured in Newark in a police-involved shooting. Down in Philadelphia, they had a large fire, ripped through a church. I saw pictures of that overnight. It was a very large fire. Police are investigating a reported break-in that left a man fatally shot in Port Breeze. Skipping down into, I missed Andy over here. What's Andy got going on? Good Lord. So there was juvenile teen stabbed multiple times in Landover Hills. PG police on scene investigating a stabbing with a teen male transported with multiple stab wounds. A second also robbed. And then let's see. And juvenile stabbed numerous times. I told everybody that has watched or listened to my shows for quite a while, pay attention. Knife incidents are going to be increasing. Juvenile stabbed numerous times at a Panda Express in Annapolis, and he was stabbed at least 4 times across the body. PG Police Department is on scene. All right. So have that. They're investigating a separate stabbing in Annapolis. So it sounds as though in the Baltimore metropolitan Annapolis PG area, be very aware of your surroundings because of knife crimes. Crime scene CSU has been requested in D Street, reference to stabbing in DC. And over on Capitol Hill, they had a small porch fire extended up into the house, but they got it knocked down pretty quick. Citizen was robbed, who's carjacked by a male and female. They've taken 2 persons into custody. A weapon was produced. Let's see what this is. Trump had a call with the Prime Minister of Canada, Carney. Okay, well, I have not heard how that went. Hopefully it went okay. Down in Lynchburg, down in Southwest Virginia, Lynchburg said it had been attempted to serve a warrant at a home in Sussex Street. Back up where Cheyenne is, we have, what is this? Person barricaded, and a separate incident. They're threatening maid at an elementary school. Okay. This is in Pittsburgh. I'm sorry. And a 17-year-old dies after being shot in Pittsburgh's Knoxville neighborhood, not to be confused with Knoxville, Tennessee. Over in Cleveland, a foot chase after a car crashed out in front of a fire department. They chased down the suspects. No word on arrest yet. We'll hop over here to Chicago for you, Chris, and all these bodies. Let's see. A marine distress signal, and they reported a body recovered in the river. That's not good. A male was shot on West Monroe. Well, we have an exclamation point. What does that one mean? Loud reports. This is 4 hours ago. Loud reports. Gunshots heard at 73rd and Green in Chicago. So there's lots of gun crime activity in Chicago. And a 33-year-old male was shot and killed in Chicago. And 26-year-old male was shot. There's lots of gun crime and violent crimes in Chicago. It's not a very friendly city. And Brenda, I'm trying to catch up here. Let's see. Wendell says he's got a show scheduled. Everybody go over and check that out. And somebody says you need to get. Yeah, Brenda, you never told her to get in touch with me. So Chris says rumor on the phone call was Trump successfully accomplished something many people had talked about. Was it something big and beautiful? Was it big, beautiful, and perfect, Chris? I need to know. I need to know. Ask him for a friend. Over where over where Amanda is, a large police presence in Lexington. And there was a fire reported in St. James Street. It was perfect. Chris says it was perfect. Well, there's a shocker. In Nashville, we had one dead after a crash. Memphis, there's another shocker. More gun crime. Man seriously injured in a shooting. Go down to Mississippi. Capitol Police make arrest in a shooting that killed 1, injured 7. Wendell, over there by you, a 34-year-old was killed in a fiery Walker County crash. In Atlanta, DeKalb County are investigating after a young teen shot. There's a shocker, another violent crime death in Atlanta. Down in Tampa, where Ross is, man kills wife and son in domestic shooting before being shot by police. Well, Florida Highway Patrol, 3 killed during major crash in 95 in Brevard County. Down in Miami, hundreds of local juveniles looking to have some spring break fun were sent away from Fort Lauderdale by police on Thursday night. All right. Tragic shooting have left a mother and son dead. That's also in Miami. And Brenda, over where you are, let's see what kind of violence you got. San Antonio, body found, identified a 61-year-old who was determined to have drowned. Oh, that's not good. A driver killed in a crash with a NEISD school bus has been identified. Oh, there's the scene of the crash. That's a nasty. Can I make that bigger? That's a nasty looking crash. Ooh, yeah, that's horrible. Well, you should pay attention to the cars in front of you. Brenda said it wasn't you. You rolled on through, Brenda? I am really zooming through this now, guys, because we have went on for a little longer than I anticipated. Fire in Fort Worth, up in Oklahoma. Police released more information on a shooting that occurred Thursday. 3 teens were hurt and 4 others are in custody. Why are we seeing all these teens? All right. Unless there's something specific anybody wants to see, I'm just kind of hit and miss it. But you can see on the USA Live map of incidents, it's been hopping in the U.S. with gun and knife violence. And what is this? This is out on the islands of Alaska. 4.9. That was 3 hours ago. And save Warren. I don't know if anybody can save Warren. This is probably Ukraine does not recognize U.S. military aid as debt. We have received a draft of a new agreement on minerals, which is completely different document than previously agreement. 2 hours ago, Zelensky said, little worm. So, all right. What's going on up here? That's probably Denmark has not kept pace in devoting the resources necessary to keep this base. Our troops, and in my view, keep the people of Greenland safe from aggression and incursion. Well, there's a way to do that, and it can be beautiful and perfect. Just saying, for somebody I've heard talk on TV, it could be beautiful and perfect. Vance is in Greenland. All right, good for him, I guess. All right, so that's pretty much that. Let's go back over here and see if we can get an update. And it appears that Air Force One is currently over the Outer Banks and traveling at 32,000 feet. And looks like he's got a pretty good speed up around 500 miles an hour. All right. So there you go. There's Air Force One. Greenland, is Air Force Two, is it? It was up in Greenland somewhere. Well, I'm not going to take it off of this. I just like watching this for no apparent reason. All right, so the New England fire alerts, I'm not going to go over them today. We pretty much covered everything in the events map. Let me zoom in and see if there's anything for Denise. I don't see anything different than what we talked about. So you can go to New England Fire News Net and see all of that. We look at, I'm going to update this real quick and see where the NOTAMs are. Of course, we see the one for Washington, D.C. NOTAM is notice to all airmen. That's in Washington, D.C. There's currently one. I'm going to assume this is probably the floating one around the president. And then we're going to look down here in Mar-a-Lago. And if you'll notice, they have several of them now. They have one, the normal one. Then they have a separate one coming out from the airport. And then they have an even larger one. And they have had to do this because people are not recognizing the NOTAM, and they have had several pilots come into the area and not respond, and the military's had to go escort them out of the area. So they have broadened the NOTAM. That's for a baseball game down there. I'm going to guess that's for an air show, and it's not stated why that one was. Probably notice one up over the where they're fighting fires. But they're not paying attention to the NOTAM. So space operations, there must be something going on this weekend off of the Titusville coastline. Let's see if they still have that space operation up in Alaska, if we can see it. And I'm going to assume these are significant meteorological events, but they're also issuing NOTAMs because I'm guessing our VEEP is somewhere up here. And yes, space operations over Alaska for no known reasons. All right, so there is that. The only guidance I got yesterday looking up, if you remember, there was a long streak that went pretty much halfway around the globe, was missile testing. That was a pretty large area for missile testing. So there's your current NOTAMs, the major ones. You can find this at skyvector.com. And then, of course, you can go to the FAA.com and get the ones as they come out by the minute. We'll pull this up real quick. Bitfinder, this is showing us where all the current cyber attacks are going on. And if you'll notice, they're coming from Asia, Russia, and they're all pretty much being aimed at the United States with attacks and infections. It's recommended everybody turn your phone on and off daily, and your routers turn them on and off daily. But we can see that we are currently under cyber attack by other parts of the world. You can find this at Bitdefender. It's the cyber threat real-time map. It shows what's going on as far as cyber threats. Anything in red is an attack. Anything in yellow is an infection. Anything white is an email spam by either Wendell or Andy. So pay attention to that. And that's our local current time. We're going to keep a watch on that. Let's see what other news I had out here. Did I have something else? I know I did. Well, we're going to talk about Radio Free Europe funding restored, and there was a block on President Trump taking any monies away from the VOA. So that was current in the news. The bodyguards. Anybody notice anything about Hegseth's bodyguards asking for a friend? Well, it turns out they're not actually his bodyguards. They're there for Air Force's Doomsday plane. Members of the Air Force National Airborne Operations Center Special Security Forces team travel with the E-4B Nighthawk, which is the SecDef's plane, not as personal guards, as some people have speculated. Notice anything about them? Anybody notice that? More like from Clint and Shine. No, I don't send out a lot of emails. And a short video, SecDef Pete Hegseth is normally unremarkable act of climbing stairs. However, it launched a wave of internet speculation this week when it captured two armed guards who looked like they might be assigned to him. Both wore Air Force flight suits, carried M4-style rifles, tactical vests, a rarely seen level of firepower on civilian Veep flights, and both were women. All right. One internet outlet even called them Hegseth's heavily armed bodyguards. Some even compared the two to ornamental Amazon guards, once favored by Gaddafi. Well, he's got the right to be protected, but that plane is much more important than him. Well, I don't know if that's exactly true. The two women who were members of a small team from the 55th Security Force Squadron were assigned to guard not which is assigned to guard not Hegseth, but the plane he is flying on, the E-4B Doomsday, which is a secret plane. The security detail, which is specially selected from Air Force security forces at Offutt Base, Army Air Force Base in Nebraska, flies with the plane everywhere it goes. The rifles and combat gear are standard protocol. They were not assigned to guard SecDef, but rather flew with the plane from Andrews to pick him up. The E-4B is one of Air Force's normal Veep transport planes flown by the 89th Air Wing Lift, which are based at Andrews and generally painted light blue and white. The 89th planes, which include converted 747s that serve as Air Force One, appear on television regularly, carrying a wide range of government Veeps with very few, if any, obvious security guards around them. Not so for the E-4B, Echo 4 Bravo Night Watch. It is an all-business warplane built for the president and SecDef to carry out plans during major attack. The plane is not based at Andrews, but Offutt, which is home of the U.S. Strategic Command, the military nuclear war planners, the 55th Air Wing, which flies a roster of top-secret planes from the base. And though Nebraska is, the E-4B actually operates under the 8th Air Force out of Barksdale, Louisiana Command. In other words, it's not his personal shuttle, but it is there to protect him, but they will protect the plane. I'm sure they would protect him, but interesting. So, yeah, that was some people talking about that. But yes, that is a standard protocol for the SecDef, and they just happen to be the one. Whoa, that's loud. Mute that. They just happen to be the ones there as he was boarding the plane. So nothing to be taken out of context with this. This is their job. They're highly trained to kill. So that's what we want. All right. What we know about why Donald Trump is obsessed with Greenland. Well, we did talk a little bit ago that China is obsessed with it too. They don't like to talk about that. It's easier to get ships sail through the Arctic water if we had Greenland. It's untapped mineral resources, oil and gas. And he thinks Greenland is going to be something that maybe is in our future. He says it could be perfect. Denmark owns and runs Greenland as a semi-autonomous territory. Greenland's colonial history begins with Norwegian priest Hans Egede in 1721 to establish missions in the country. It was a Danish colony until 1953, when it was redefined as a district of Denmark. It's not until 1979 that Greenland established its first government. And however, the island's foreign policy and defense and national security judicial branch and monetary systems remain under Danish control. Greenlandic is the official language of the island since 2009. The island's economy mainly relies on fishing and grants from Denmark. And there is a history that goes back, and if you read way back into the 40s, United States wanted Greenland. We'll take Denmark too. But at any rate, that is that story. You can find that over on ABC. And I didn't really, Brenda, this would be more your type of study. Declassified CIA documents claim they know where the Ark of the Covenant is. So there you go. I'm not really up to date on all that, but that's where they say they know where it is. Use it. Oh, this is great. Existence used in remote viewing. I need to send this article to a friend. So RFK Jr.'s already taking effect with McCormick Spices reformulating food products to align with the Make America Healthy Again. And they picture Old Bay, but they also show other products. Frank's Red Hot is going to get a new taste, and a lot of these are. We got Lowry's, McCormick French's, Frank's Red Hot. These are just ones I know. Schwartz, Asia, Old Bay, McCormick, Stubbs. Okay, I didn't know that. So all these are being reformulated due to the Make America Healthy Again. Very good. Frank's Red Hot. I can't wait to see what it tastes like. They'll probably launch an advertisement into it. Parts of America will experience a solar eclipse this weekend. And if you live in the Northeast and have clear weather and you're an early riser, visible from Washington, D.C. to Maine, cross over to Canada. We'll get in the U.S. shortly before sunrise, ending at exactly 7 a.m. Maximum coverage for those in D.C. is expected to be 6:59. Buffalo will experience its peak at 7:05, and the eclipse will only last between 70 and 80 minutes. It's going to be visibility is going to be the problem. Do not need special equipment, but do not look directly at the sun. I shouldn't have to tell you that. Let's see. NFL is bringing Caitlin Clark to help with flag football. That is going to be a big deal. We're not going to cover any of that. We're not going to cover sport. Well, no, we will cover one thing. Chris, who do you think? I need to know. What's your predictions for tonight for the tournament? Who do you think's going to win? Why are they not showing all the games? There's more games than this. What? Where's the games? Or is it tomorrow? Is it tomorrow? This is, I want men's. Ooh, I was in the wrong place. I'm already panicking here. All right, hold on. Tennessee, Kentucky. Chris, who you got on this one? Which one's old news, Brenda? They've had that for a long time. It's old news. Who's playing? Well, if you're looking at men's college, today there's Ole Miss at Michigan, Houston at Purdue. The game I'm so concerned with is Kentucky, Tennessee in the Sweet 16. Tonight at 7:39 on TBS. And in Auburn, Michigan. There's a lot of SEC teams. Yes, I am too. And not just because I'm wearing the Tennessee shirt, but because it's going to be hard to beat 3 times in a row. You know what I'm saying? The story about Tennessee. Which story are you talking about? I don't know which story you're talking about, Brenda. But yeah, that's the game I'm looking forward to tonight. So 7:39, you will find me glued to TBS. And you will probably see me bitching. I'm not going to go over ESPN headlines, but you can go over to ESPN and check out the most recent headlines. So Caitlin Clark, I'm going to read that story afterwards. But if you're talking about this, don't let Amanda know. Amanda and I talked about having a watch party, but we said we couldn't do it because we'd both be cursing. So, but there you go. Let's see. I can close that window. I'm going to keep that up to send it to a friend. I want to read that. We'll keep the basketball score up. We'll see where currently he is located. Have they updated? This isn't real time. So anybody saying I'm giving away, unless anybody has anything else, there we go. No. Probably just went over Oak Island. Unless anybody has any questions, comments, or queries, we will wind it up being a really long show today, 2 hours and 20 minutes. So, yeah, I can't think of anything else. Is anybody got anything else? I will try and make a happy Friday video and post it later on the Talk and YouTube Shorts if you want to check that out. And you can always come over and find me on the Paranormal Guys with a Z. I need you to please hit that thumbs up button, like, follow, share, and subscribe. I know every YouTube person says that, but we are so close to being monetized. We really could use your help. So that would be great. You can find me Tuesdays and Thursdays on the Thin Line Rock Station, www.thethinlinerockstation.com, where I play music and have a little fun. And, of course, all of our shows are broadcast on the Yergs Radio Network and Rainbow Radio. And we want to thank Yergs for allowing us to do that. We're on Radio X. Our paranormal show is on Bigfoot Radio Network. It is also on Radio Free Nashville, WRFN, and Pine Island FM, WZQY, I think. Yeah, so that wraps it up for today. Everybody have a great Friday. I will probably not be back until Monday. I'm not sure yet. There might be a sports show Sunday that is coming up, but I'm not 100% sure. I'll have to check on that. I'm not sure of the XFL football schedule. So everybody have a great Friday and a great weekend, and try and stay weather safe. Everybody have a great day. I will see you soon. Until then, Sportcat, well, I'm out. Have a good one, guys and gals. See you soon.